Welcome to Capes, Cows and Masks, the show where we uncover the world of soups and science fiction. I'm your host, Jake Hart. I'm a podcaster and writer for Fresh Take Hub, and today I'm joined by my fellow co-host.
Hi, it's Tom Gapper here, your resident comic book shogun. Here to give you a roundup of the week's news, and there's a lot of news this week actually to go through. A lot of things I'm excited to talk about as well, so let's crack on. Yeah,
despite the fact that, obviously the talk of the town has been Zack Snyder's Justice League and the premiere episode of The Falcon and Winter Soldier. Nevertheless, there's plenty of news and exciting news as well in the future of Marvel and DC. But before we get into that, how's your week been, Tom? You've been watching anything cool? What have you been reading?
I've been reading through Secret Empire. That's Marvel's mammoth event where evil Steve Rogers' plans finally took hold and he took over control of pretty much the entire world. I've actually been really enjoying it. I'm liking it a lot more than I did the first time round. I think I've been able to appreciate it. It's aged well, surprisingly. But I'll probably go into more detail on that another time. Also watched the Snyder Cut, obviously. Blown away. It was fantastic. Much, much better than the theatrical cut. Interesting as well to see how much Whedon was cut. I knew all the Whedon would be cut, but it was just shocking to see how much of the theatrical cut was Whedon, and just so now we definitely know who to blame for so many bad decisions. But obviously you guys talk about that a lot more in the Snyder Cut special that's coming up, so we won't dwell on that too much. But
it's already out for people to want to listen to. It's a hefty podcast. So if you're willing, it lives up to the name of Zack Snyder's Justice League with the runtime. So if you're willing to give that a try, we go proper deep into it. But I'm not going to go into this, the Snyder Cut here, just in case anybody hasn't watched it yet or anything like that. But it was quite an event, I'll say, unlike anything I've sort of witnessed and experienced. And this whole sort of movement has been great and stuff. And in preparation for just Zack Snyder's Justice League, you sort of inspired me to, not that I wasn't into comics before, but just get back into more of the weeklies and stuff like that. But before I did that, I did revisit Jack Kirby's New Gods, and man, what a piece of just masterful work. From everything from obviously the artwork, the signature Jack Kirby artwork, to this epic grand scale sci-fi story of these epic beings. It's just amazing. And you still got some of that outrageous Jack Kirby dialogue, but hey, that's part of the Kirby experience. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I absolutely love New Gods. I don't know many comic book fans who don't like it. I mean, yeah, Kirby's dialogue wasn't always his strongest point, but I feel like just because of the artwork and the story itself, you can give it a pass, really. I know I've any Jim Starlin comic I read, usually I've got to grind through the dialogue, but there's always some masterpieces in there. So everyone should read New Gods if you're a massive fan of the Snyder Cut, because it'll give you the rundown of just everything you need to know, literally everything you need to know about the New Gods.
What else? Obviously, watch Falcon and the Winter Soldier. That was fun too. So you can also check that. That's out. Our review show with Stefanos. That was really fun to go over. What did you think of the first show? Were you a fan?
Oh, I was a massive fan. Yeah, massive fan. Again, won't go into it too much because we got the podcast on that, but there's so much I loved about it. Clearly, it's going to be a very socially conscious show, as we kind of always suspected it would be, but I'm liking that they're not kind of shying away from that. And so, I won't say just in case people haven't seen it or if they just want to listen to our podcast on it, but there was a certain guy popping up right at the start that, as you know, Jake, I was so happy to see again. Mm-hmm. And I hope he comes back again within the show. So, yeah, I think it was a very, very strong opening episode, and I'm really excited for the rest of the season.
Man, we're geeks right now. What a wonderful time to be alive, because we're just bathing in all this amazing content, and it's just what an exciting time. But there's more exciting times ahead with all the news that we need to break down. So let's get into it now then.
Tear up page 1, run that photo instead. Headline: Spider-Man, hero or menace? Exclusive Daily Bugle photo.
Okay, so our first bit of news. As always, we'll start off with DC. So AT&T, they had one of these investor presentation event things. It seems like everybody's doing one of these now. I mean, they've always done them, but now it seems like fans are so involved in investor presentations, which is a really funny thing to think about.
It's the internet, man, because now we know everything that's happening at every time. Just fans are dissecting anything they can, just like right down to like text conversations between a cook that works on the set of the Marvel movies and their cousin, just going, he said he saw Betty Ray Bill on the set. Like, we need to like get on this. And these investor days are no exception. I mean, that's how people found out, like, switching to gaming a little bit, but how people found out the Mass Effect remaster was coming so early, because they just sewn in on these things. So, yeah, as you said, it seems like everyone and their mother is doing an investor day just to like showcase all this, just to like go, look, we are doing all this stuff for you nerds. Lap it up, make us more money.
But hey, man, yeah, it's exciting stuff, because it is literally them taking all our money. And so, Warner Brothers gave us a glimpse at their slate of DC Comics projects arriving over the next few years. I mean, a lot of what they announced we sort of already knew was in the pipeline. Matt Reeves is the Batman, the Aquaman sequel. What else we got? The Flash movie, Superman and Lois, the Green Lantern
video
series
games as well. So like the Suicide Squad game and
the Gotham Knights game, which was recently actually pushed to 2022. So you're gonna have to wait a bit longer for that one. Damn you, DC. But most notably was actually there was two projects that everybody was talking about. First is the heavily rumored for years now, but I think it's finally hard confirmed by the studio, is the Batgirl movie. So that's finally happening. Obviously, Joss Whedon is no longer attached to that project. But the last I heard of that project was Christina Hodson, who actually wrote Birds of Prey, was tapped to write this film. So I believe she's still on board to write it. And if that's the case, I'm excited for that, because I did think she did a great job on Birds of Prey. And the second one that caught everyone by surprise was the Zatanna project. Now, and at the time of this announcement, everybody was like, is it going to be a movie? Is it going to be a TV show? Literally, before we came on here, Tom, it was confirmed. It's going to be a movie, and they've pinged Emerald Fennell, the Oscar-nominated director of Promising Young Woman, has been tapped to write Zatanna.
Whoa. That's
big news from Warner Brothers there.
That is an impressive catch there. I mean, I was already excited for Zatanna. I love Zatanna. But, this is going to be a good show. I think it's going to be great. I'm excited for this movie. Sorry, it's been a long day.
Yeah, it's a movie. It's part of J.J. Abrams' Bad Robot production deal with Warner Brothers, so Bad Robot will be producing the series. Makes sense. They've already confirmed they're going to be working on Justice League Dark and Constantine, so, I was actually thinking those were going to be series, but if they're going with a movie with Zatanna, and actually thinking JJ's background, granted he did Lost, but he seems like, he's an Amblin kid, he's a Spielberg guy. I think he's probably wanting to make these into movies in his own little corner of the dark DC universe. But what do you think of sort of this announcement? First of all, with Batgirl, and then...
Zatanna? Yeah, as you said, Batgirl has been heavily rumoured for years now. It was always really a matter of time that they'd finally confirm it, because I think she's a very in-demand character. I know, especially since the New 52, she massively burst out in popularity. Not that she wasn't already popular before, but it'll be...
I believe that was Gail Simone's run,
Yes, and Gail Simone is an absolutely fantastic comic book writer, and her Batgirl is nothing short of sensational, to be honest. I reckon it's one of the bright sparks of that era of DC Comics, to be honest. So yeah, very excited to see that. Interesting as well, is because obviously Barbara has also been cast for season 3 of Titans. So we've been waiting so long for this to be confirmed, and now we're going to have two Batgirls running around at once. Although the Titans one is likely to be Oracle, but that's a whole other thing. Zatanna, yeah, I'm super excited for that. I'm a sucker for magic in comics and in my comic book movies. That's why I keep saying Doctor Strange is one of the best Marvel movies. So I'm excited to finally see DC tackle some proper magic. I know they delve into it a little bit in Shazam, but these announcements have got me very excited, though. And yeah, just excited to finally see a Justice League Dark project take off, because I know Guillermo del Toro was trying for years to do that.
That would have been something to see Del Toro.
How did that not happen? Like, it's Del Toro and Justice League Dark. That would have been insane.
1 + 1 = 2. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. someone at Warner Brothers needs to get fired for something, for that not happening. I don't know who.
I think there's been plenty of firings at Warner Brothers recently.
Well, Warner Brothers, if you're listening, can you please send me confirmation on Twitter, so I can feel vindicated? Thank you. Clearly they listen to this. They value our opinion.
Oh yeah. Every week. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much on board with you. Like, I'm particularly excited for Zatanna. Like you, I'm into my magic shit, but I'm also into my horror and the darker side of things. You know what I mean? And the prospect of getting a lead female tackling a project like this as well is fantastic. And just like you, I was shocked when I read this news that Emerald Fennell is going to be writing this. This is an Oscar-nominated director, for Christ's sake. You can see Warner Brothers are going for talent. They want to get the best people possible for this project. So I'm excited to see what they do there. And like I said, like, I'm excited to see what they do with Batgirl. You know, none of these projects have a director yet. They've just got writers. Like I said, Christina Hodson will be writing Batgirl. So it'll be interesting to see who they get to direct these projects. Because I don't think JJ is probably going to direct these. He'll probably act as a producer. But do you have any maybe suggestions of who would you like to see direct any of these projects?
Well, I mean, Guillermo del Toro, obviously, but that's not going to happen. Yeah, I think you're kind of right. I think JJ will definitely just stick to producing on these, not least because of, I imagine he's seen a lot of the backlash to some of his recent work, so it wouldn't surprise me if he wants to take a break from directing for a bit. In terms of who could, I don't really know, to be honest. Who's big in the horror game currently?
I mean, obviously you got Jordan Peele.
Ooh. That could be kind of interesting.
I think, Jordan Peele. Actually, that would be kind of interesting because they did say for the Constantine project, they were looking for maybe a person of color to play the role.
Yeah.
So, actually, yeah.
I could see Jordan Peele doing a Constantine film.
That'd be cool.
Ooh, okay.
Zatanna would be interesting. You know what? I genuinely, I love Birds of Prey, and I think Kathy Yan did a fantastic job directing that. I'd love to see her get another shot at like a DC project. And either Batgirl or Zatanna would probably be great for her to tackle.
Yeah, I'd be happy to see her again. I had no problems with Birds of Prey from like a direction standpoint. It was a very solid film. Enjoyed it. So I'd definitely like to see her tackle a few more films.
So yeah, man, it seems, Warner Brothers and DC seem to be getting into some form of rhythm here. They seem to be fully embracing the multiverse, being like, you know what? Let's just make some projects. Let's just make great stories and not worry about connecting it all together. This is doing this is doing that. Just enjoy it, sort of thing. And you know what? I'm all on board for that because if anything, that's what separates them from Marvel.
Exactly, and
that's just my 2
They
cents.
always then have the like crisis in case of emergency in their back pocket that they so love to do in the comics. Like if they do feel like, all right, we've kind of got something established here. Now we can just cherry pick our favorites from all these different varying universes. Or maybe if they don't do that, they just keep them all separate, but maybe just, I don't know, have a film where there is some sort of multiversal team up and it's just like, pure fan service. But yeah, as you said, it does then separate them from Marvel. I know Marvel are opening up the multiverse, but they're doing it in a way that's obviously for a larger narrative. It's not like you're going to see so many different projects splitting off that you're like, oh, they can be canon if you want them to, but they're not really. Whereas DC, this does give them that freedom. And as many people will say, no one does multiversal stories better than DC. So this is actually something it's something I've said for a while, actually. If DC ever did like just want to give themselves a clean slate or just like try and fix the mess they made, they can't just throw in a crisis there because comic fans will probably lap that up. The hype will then like spread out to everyone else. And yeah, I don't know. It's always something they can do. I mean, it worked on the CW, so I can imagine it working on a much larger scale as well.
Well, I was going to say, it seems we're not necessarily Crisis, but it seems we're getting some form of flashpoint.
Yeah,
in
something's going to be happening there. So that could be it. Because
you've got both Ben Affleck and Michael Keaton as Batman in those movies.
So it could just be a case of just they're using the Flash movie to kind of explain why so many of these different movies are happening but not seemingly connected, rather than it being just some big sort of like, I don't know, 3-movie event where they just bring everyone in for like a big battle royale. That could be a much neater way of doing it, and then just, as I said, just down the line, if they feel confident enough, if they feel the fans want it, they can do a big event where they like cross everyone over, or they can just carry on doing as they're doing and still make a lot of money.
Speaking of the Flash, let's go into the Flash, because that's got a bit of casting news. Flash has gained a mother. So we've got Maribel Verdú, who is attached to be playing Barry Allen's mother. She is most notably from works Pan's Labyrinth and Y tu mamá también. But unfortunately, he is losing a dad. And that is Billy Crudup is dropping from the movie because of shooting conflicts with the Apple TV Plus show, The Morning Show, that he's on. So obviously, hot off the tails of Zack Snyder's Justice League, we did get to see Billy Crudup in this film. We actually got to see a bit more of him, which was really nice, and it was expanded upon. I really liked the relationship that Barry Allen had with his dad in that version. So it is kind of a shame that we won't be seeing him returning, but then again, you know, he might have been tight with Zack Snyder in a sense because he did Watchmen with him, so he might not necessarily be attached to the role. He just sort of likes working with Zack. But at the same time, come on, man. Like, you're going to pass upon the Flash movie so you can do the morning show. Look, there's no shade at the morning show, but surely you can work something out. Do you know what I mean? Like with your scheduling and stuff like that. This is the Flash, for fuck's sake. But what do you make of these casting
I'm
choices?
a bit gutted to lose Dr. Manhattan because, as I said, from watching the Snyder cuts, I did enjoy that they expanded on him a bit, gave him more to work with. I was kind of excited to see more, so I was a bit gutted to see that he's obviously not coming back. I mean, they could just like write the movie so he doesn't need to, and then maybe just bring him back in the future, or they could go down the route of multiverse and just get John Wesley Shipp in. I mean, he played Henry Allen in the CW verse. He also played Jay Garrick. He also played. He was also Barry Allen himself.
He plays a lot of people.
And apparently he's going to be appearing in the next season of Stargirl as Jay Garrick for their universe. So why not just bring him into the Flash film? Yeah, people just be like, oh, it's that dude. He's everywhere. He is the unifying factor of the whole DCEU. That is it. John Wesley Shipp. He's the linchpin. He is the key. It's not Lois Lane. It's John Wesley Shipp.
It's John Wesley Shipp.
But yeah, excited for the casting of Nora Allen because if they are going the Flashpoint route, there's clearly going to be a very rich story there. So I'm definitely excited to see that come to life because like that was always one of the highlights of the CW Flash. I know I keep mentioning it, but you can't. You know, there's obvious going to be comparisons there. But I always like how they did Nora Allen in the show, and some of the scenes with her and Barry were always like some of the best, the most emotionally charged, best acted usually as well. Like Grant Gustin usually shined in those roles. So I'm excited to see that on the big screen and excited to see what Ezra Miller can do. Because I mean, is it spoilers if I kind of explain what happens? I mean, the Flash has been around for...
in what? In Flashpoint?
Well, not Flashpoint, but just like what happens to Nora Allen, like just generally.
Oh, no, that's general knowledge, bro.
She's dead, obviously.
Yeah, everybody, she's dead,
She's dead.
Know? The whole, and if you know Flashpoint, you know the whole reason of Flashpoint is Barry choosing to save her, so, you know.
What I want to know, though, what I really want to know is... Are we going to get Reverse Flash maybe involved down the line? Because he's one of my favorite DC villains, one of my all-time favorite DC villains, and like he's not central to the Flashpoint story, but he kind of does serve an important role. And there is like a very awesome kind of showdown between Barry and Thorne in the end of Flashpoint, which I would quite like to see in movie form. But I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see.
I was going to say the animated movie did it really well with Reverse Flash and stuff. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah, the animated movie was great. The CW Flashpoint was... I'd rather not talk about it.
Yeah, it was that season 3 or 4, where I think the show started to lose me.
With Savitar. Yeah.
Yeah, let's not go into that. Let's
that could be for another
speed
time.
on out of the Flash world and then head our way over to Gotham. So it's done. Matt Reeves has revealed an image on set that the Batman is finished. And it's so funny because this production has had so many setbacks with obviously all the, the COVID restrictions and stuff like that. Down to even Robert Pattinson getting COVID himself. Do you know what I mean? How the hell does that happen?
Not even prep time can spare you from COVID. It is
not even prep time. It's great. Yeah, what a troublesome production. But you know what? Matt Reeves is a total professional, and the way he was speaking about this project at DC Fandom, I'm like, you know what? Take all the time you need to make this the best movie possibly. Tom, I actually haven't really got your thoughts, but are you excited for Matt Reeves' take on the Batman?
I'm very excited for it. From the moment Robert Pattinson was announced, I was excited, just because I think he's a fantastic actor. And also, it just seemed like such a left field pick initially when he was announced that I was like, I need to see this. I need to see Robert Pattinson as the Batman. And just from the one trailer we've seen, it looks proper intense, and Colin Farrell just doesn't look like Colin Farrell, and that scares me. It scares me. And I'm excited to see a new interpretation of the Riddler, because as much as I love Jim Carrey's, didn't really display like the full potential of what the Riddler can be. The Gotham version was pretty decent. But I'm excited to see it's Paul Dano, isn't it? Playing
Paul Dano, yeah.
I love him. I do. He's a fantastic actor. And yeah, just from that trailer, he just seems so menacing. I love it.
I mean, this whole cast is fantastic.
It's stacked.
It's genuinely... Matt Reeves has gone like Christopher Nolan level with this, with like the stellar cast. Obviously, our Pat's being the lead, but we've also got Zoe Kravitz as Selena Kyle. Like, that is just stellar casting. Andy Serkis as Alfred. I mean, come on.
Inspired casting. I'm so excited for that.
Amazing.
Like, I thought Jeremy Irons was the perfect Alfred, and then they come and knock it out of the park again.
You took away Eusebius Claw, you'll give us Alfred instead. I'm fine with that.
Mind you, Sean Pertwee's version's up there. Just saying.
That's true. I mean, Jeffrey Wright as Commissioner Gordon. When I heard that,
yeah,
when you see Jeffrey Wright, you're like, yeah, that's Gordon. Do you know what I mean?
I'm very excited for that. I think because I love him. Every time I see him in anything, whether it was Westworld or I think I first saw him in, I think it was the second Hunger Games film. It was years ago I watched that, but I always loved his character in those films. And as I said, I loved him in Westworld.
He's also going to be he's voicing the Watcher in the What If series of Marvel.
Yes, that's going to be ooh. And also, I think there's another Marvel animated thing coming out where he's voicing the Beyonder, but I can't remember the name of it. I'll have to get back to you. Find me on Twitter after for the answer to that.
But yeah, man, I'm just super excited for this film. And the fact as well that Matt Reeves said that they're going to take a very David Fincher 7 approach to this film, like a murder mystery thing. And I'm like, yes, give me the proper noir detective Batman, because we got little bits of that in Nolan's movies, but not enough for me. Do you know what I mean? So I want to see Robert Pattinson really taking his time with cases and stuff like that. I want to see him mixing, stuff in his Batcave and experiments and all sorts of detective stuff. Do you know what I mean? And the fact that it's also in year 2, he's not going to have like the tech that we saw Ben Affleck have, or even what Christian Bale had. It's going to be a much more primitive Batman, which I love. I'm just like, that's exciting. That's exciting. So, yep, that's really exciting to see, and that will be out March 2022.
Too far away,
so far
man.
away.
It's literally a year. That's too much. Give me Batman or give me death. I never thought I'd say this, Warner Brothers, but give me more goddamn Batman.
But you know what it does? It gives me a reason to live. I tell you that. That's it. So I got to make it to see the Batman. Right, so that's it with DC news. Let's head over to the land of Marvel. So, Secret Invasion's coming. We've been talking about it for a while now. Obviously, we got Ben Mendelsohn in it as Talos and Nick Fury as... Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury. But they've now added a villain, and they've added another powerhouse actor, Kingsly Ben-Adir. Now, according to a report in Deadline, he is set to play the villain, but Marvel Studios have declined to comment on the specifics of the role. Now, this guy, he's always been a standout, but in his recent film, One Night in Miami, I don't know if you've seen it, Tom, he proved to be such a powerful presence. A film that's already about 4 legends of history, right? So he really had his work cut out for him, and he more than rose to the occasion in such a powerful performance, playing Malcolm X. Outstanding. And, that's not also the other legend he's played. He's also played Barack Obama in the show, The Comedy Rule. So, he's got some dramatic weight to him, and so I'm just excited to see who he's going to play, because as a villain, if he's got this much acting accolades, I'm excited to see who he'll play and how intimidating this guy's going to be. But where do you go with this, Tom? First of all, who do you think he could be? And what do you think of the actor Ben-Adir?
Well, I think he's a great actor, and I definitely get the sense that he would be a fantastic villain. As you say, he's got kind of just like an imposing... he's just got this presence. You're just like, whoa, back off, guys. This guy could cause some shit. So I'm definitely excited to see him in Secret Invasion. In terms of who he could be, I'm not 100% on that. I think he might just end up not necessarily being an OC character, but he just might be the leader of the Skrulls or whatever, but just like maybe not any connected to anyone specific in the comics. Or he could be, and there's no way I'm going to pronounce this name correctly because I don't know how it's pronounced, but it's like Kl'rt. It's like KL apostrophe RT, also known as the Super Skrull in the comic books. In the comic books, he was a Skrull that basically underwent some experiments to mimic the abilities of the Fantastic Four. So he basically had all their abilities, and he was a bit of a thorn in their sides. Later became a bit of a laughingstock to his own Skrull empire because he kept losing to those primitive humans, and eventually rose to be a hero of the galaxy and saving it from the Annihilation Wave. But given how Marvel like to treat the heroes of the Annihilation Wave in the MCU, looking at Ronan, they could probably bring him in as Kl'rt. That's just what I'm sticking with now as his name, Kl'rt. And just have him as the big bad leader of the Skrulls. And maybe don't give him the powers of the Fantastic Four, but maybe give him like some souped up powers, or maybe it's just him before he gets the experiments. Just set him up like early, and then you can bring him back in like a Fantastic Four film. Do that whole thing. That's where I'm at in terms of my theories. If he is playing a villain, because I can't think of many other Skrulls at this point in time.
I think it's pretty safe bet to say he might be playing a Super Skrull, because the fact that they're doing Secret Invasion gives all indication they're going to be bringing in Super Skrulls. And Marvel can do it now, because I remember that Fox hold the rights to Super Skrulls. But both Fox and Marvel Studios had the rights to the Skrulls.
It was a weird thing.
Yeah, it was so weird.
Yeah, I just remember them showing up in Marvel, and I was like, oh, I didn't know they had the rights to that. Oh, they kind of do, but don't? All right, then. Yeah. It's like how it was always they never had the rights to Annihilus, because I think James Gunn especially, he was like, he really wants to use Annihilus in a film. There's so many just awesome cosmic characters coming over from the Fox deal. So
yeah, there's still a couple of kinks though. Like we've got that weird deal with Hulk and Namor.
Yeah, with Universal.
That universe. Yeah, they own the distribution rights. So they would have so they can make solo films of them. They just have to distribute them through Universal, and I can imagine they don't want to do that.
They may as well just like sell the rights to the characters back to Disney. I'm sure they get like a really nice payout out of that, because otherwise Disney are just going to keep using them in team-ups and not give them any solo films anyway. So I don't know.
Everybody loses in that case. We need some. Give me a solo Hulk film, man. I think
give me Namor. I need Namor.
That's true.
Need Namor.
I think we'll get. I think we're getting Namor. If not a cameo, then at least a reference or a name drop in the second Black Panther film.
Yeah, because obviously those two countries, Atlantis and Wakanda, have a long bloody history.
That's true. And there's, if everybody leads to the speculation of what Okoye said in Endgame, where she said there was an earthquake in Wakanda, underneath. And he says we will deal with it as we should. It's an earthquake.
But what if it's Imperious Rex?
But what if it's more?
Imperious Rex.
What if it's more? Right. Let's stay on Marvel Studios then, and I don't know about this, but we'll see. Kevin Feige has shot down reports that Chris Evans is returning as Captain America. So this is what Kevin Feige has to say. I rarely answer no to anything anymore because things are always surprising me with what happens. But that rumor, I think, was dispelled rather quickly by the man himself. Look, once again, Kevin Feige just shows he is the master at speaking to tabloids and press and interviews and stuff for that, because he is a man that gives everything away without giving anything away. It's just incredible. I don't know how he does it. But in this quote, he's being very coy, because if you actually read between the lines and actually look at what he's saying, he hasn't said no.
He hasn't said no, and also he pointed to the man himself. What I swear I saw an article recently where Chris Evans was basically saying, I could be down for returning one day. Along those lines. I'm sure I saw something floating around.
He's definitely said that before. I don't think he's like Robert Downey Jr., where I think Robert Downey Jr. wanted to move on from the character. I think Chris Evans is more like, I've had my story, it's a great story, but if they wanted me to come back, he'd be open to it. But I think what Feige's talking about is this specific news bit, because when that story came out that he was returning, Chris Evans, tweeted the news to me with that little shrugging emoji. But then again, I just don't trust anyone at Marvel anymore. That's the thing. I can't tell if anyone's lying or telling
it's like
the
when I
truth
see
anymore.
people shutting down Spider-Verse theories, going, no, because Tom Holland has said that Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield aren't going to be in it. I can believe that they're not going to be in it. In fact, I think that's the most likely case scenario. But don't cite Tom Holland as a reliable source of information. Because, Marvel will not give him any information anymore. And if they do, it'll be fake information. Because they know he will just yab to someone, to everyone.
Exactly. Especially a film like this, which is, shaping up probably to be the biggest and most spoiler-filled Spider-Man film we've seen.
And yeah, to be honest, I can believe that, Chris Evans would, as you said, he thinks this particular story is done. I know before he did say he wanted to get into some directing a bit more, take a break from acting, focus on directing. So it's possible that he'll probably do that for a few years, maybe longer. And maybe he just sticks to it and goes, no, I'm a director now. Or maybe one day he thinks, you know what, it would be fun to don up as Captain America, take up the shield again. And I'm sure that if he said to Feige,
Old Man Cap.
Yeah, I mean, They imagine how powerful a moment that would be in the MCU, where the heroes are at their darkest moments, and then you just see Sam his face is giving up hope, and then you hear on your left, and it's just Steve, and he comes in throwing a shield and kicking Annihilus's ass, and you just be like, whoa. So I think it's as you said. I think he's both done and not done with the character. I think he could eventually come back, but I wouldn't I wouldn't necessarily count on it, because he may just decide in a few years that, he is actually fully done with the character. Equally, he could decide to come back, and it would be with open arms. So I guess we just got to take them at their words at this time. We're not going to see him anytime soon.
Definitely not soon.
So just let's not worry about it, to be honest. Let him do his thing.
Like I said, if anything, it will turn out that it's a Skrull in Secret Invasion, and it's a very quick sort of thing. It's like, do you know what I mean? Like,
I've been trying to think recently, like, what's the most damage they could do to the MCU with a Skrull reveal? Just like, oh yeah, Hawkeye was a Skrull this entire time.
Captain America.
Oh yeah, Captain America from the very start, from the moment he came out of the ice, was actually a Skrull. But yeah, I think we don't need Cap, Steve Rogers back anytime soon. So if Chris Evans does want to be done with it, that's fine. We have our Captain America, and his name is Johnny Walker.
Right, let's move on to the last bit of news. This is Marvel, but it is not the MCU.
MCU adjunct.
It is that other.
If you remember that.
I wouldn't go that far. This is obviously the Sony Marvel stuff, and it is about the Venom sequel titled Let There Be Carnage. Initially meant to come out in June this year, it has now been moved to the 17th of September later this year. Obviously, this is probably due to COVID, and people still pushing dates a bit back. I think seems like this is going to be the last wave of pushes and delays.
You say that.
Both. Well, I don't know what it's going to be like over here in the UK, but judging from what the States are doing, and let's be real, Hollywood is mainly dictated by what the States are doing, and that's New York and LA both reopening the cinemas. So I think it's pretty much a go. I think we're getting these movies now. And so, yeah, that's been moved down a bit later in the year. I'm going to be honest, man. Like, I don't have high expectations for the movie just because I did not like the first one at all. Like, the only redeeming quality for me was Tom Hardy's performance. I thought he gave a fantastic performance. He was just in a turd movie, and I don't say that lightly. I don't like shitting on movies a lot, but I just had a lot of issues.
It was a turd in the wind.
Although it was a turd in the wind. A shout out to Tom Hardy eating lobster in the fish tank. That was a great, probably the best part of the film. So I'm not excited for it in that regard, and the fact that they're gonna have Carnage, and you've got oh my God, what's his name? It's on the tip of my tongue.
Woody
Harrelson, who's playing Carnage. That awful post-credit scene with that dodgy red wig. I was like, what the hell is this? This is so stupid.
Did you not like the wig? Did you not think it was realistic?
Oh, no.
I mean, as a ginger myself, I was personally, horrified. I was just like, no redhead has that shade of red. No. Looked awful, so bad.
Dreadful. So I'm a bit like, I don't know how this is going to be in the sequel. However, I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt because Andy Serkis is directing this. It is a different director, and it will be rated R. Now, I'm not saying a rating automatically makes this film better, but in the case of Venom, the first film, you could clearly see where they cut scenes when it was meant to be a lot bloodier, a lot more brutal. And for me, that just actually ruined the film. It just took away any impact of the action scenes and stuff like that. Because as soon as he was maybe about to do something brutal or cool, you cut to something else. And also the lighting, everything was just dark. You couldn't see anything. So, yeah, I'm willing to give it the benefit of the doubt. If, it is Carnage, I was kind of thinking, if it's Carnage, you have to make it rated R. This guy's a sociopath, he's a fucking murderer. So we'll see what Andy Serkis brings. That's all I can say. We'll see. So I'm going in, I wouldn't say cautiously optimistic. I would just say I'm going in cautiously.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I liked the first film well enough, but the same way I liked the superhero movies that were coming out in the early 2000s, like the first Fantastic Four film. It's it's a movie. I can watch it and not want to switch it off, but not necessarily enjoying it all that much. And as you said, it was just very difficult to see what was happening in Venom. And I think Riz Ahmed was wasted in that role as well. Ugh.
And Michelle Williams as well.
Yeah. She was also wasted. So much wasted potential. Tom Hardy was great. I'm cautiously excited for Woody Harrelson if they can maybe sort the wig out. Or maybe just at the start of the movie, find a reason for his character to shave his head. I'll live with it. I do get a bit tired of seeing like ginger characters from things be adapted into movies and just like replaced. But I could take a bald guy in place of that wig any day. But yeah, I think as you said, because it's rated R, that's given me a bit of promise that it'll actually be somewhat decent because they can actually do the characters justice. Because I mean, it worked for Deadpool. If they'd insisted on the first Deadpool film being PG-13, I don't think it would have been anywhere near as successful at all. So, and yeah, Andy Serkis as director will be. I'm interested to see what he's going to bring to it. So, very exciting, I think. Cautiously optimistic.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I just have I don't have an issue. I'm just very cautious about Sony's Marvel little universe because it just seems very dodgy, and they're trying to like bring in characters from the MCU, and I'm just like, oh, what are you doing? Like, it just seems like you're making this more convoluted than it needs to be. Like, the characters you've got, just make those movies. Don't try to bring like other characters into the films and just convolute like the multiverse thing. I don't know. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I don't know either. Like, because initially I thought they were just going to be doing their own thing, and then the Morbius trailer came out, and yeah, kind of shat all over any thoughts I had of them keeping it separate. Because first you had that poster of Spider-Man, which seemed to suggest it was a post Far From Home world. Also, you got Michael Keaton showing up. We don't know as who. We're assuming it's the Vulture, but we don't know for certain, unless they have properly confirmed that.
I mean, if they just brought Michael Keaton in for a different role, fucking brilliant.
Was Derek Arsehole?
Derek Arsehole. He returns.
Oh, he keeps coming back. So happy. Derek Arsehole will never die.
Yeah, Michael Keaton is playing Derek Arsehole in Morbius.
You hear it here first, folks. Yeah.
No, but genuinely, like, if he's actually playing like not the Vulture, basically, bravo to Sony for trolling everyone.
Because I'd say it worked wonders in WandaVision. So. Just Marvel fans would just be there going, "Are you kidding me?
Not again! Not again! Not another dick joke."
And it turns out that in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, it's actually the name of a video game he picks up. They don't actually delve into the multiverse at all. It's just a haunted video game. That's it.
Played by Ralph Boner.
Yep. That's the entire movie. It's just Ralph Boner playing a video game.
Poor Ralph. Guy doesn't get a break. Right, so that's the end of the news then. Plenty of stuff to talk about. Very exciting stuff happening for both Marvel and DC. But now we'll get into our weekly comic pull list.
Well, after X-Men hit at the box office, all the studios started buying up every comic property they could get their dirty little hands on.
What do you got for us, Tom?
Ooh, got some exciting picks this week. So we'll start off with the DC of it all. So there's not, I'll be honest, not a great amount coming out from DC this week. I mean, since Future State ended and Infinite Frontier began, they are trying to stagger out the releases of the comics. They're not dumping too much each week, which is kind of nice. But the two standouts we got at the moment is Action Comics issue 1029. So it's focusing on Superboy at the moment. It's the end of an event coming up, so I would recommend maybe getting some back issues there. But it's setting up for some big stuff coming in the next few Superman arcs, and there's going to be, we've been promised some shocking revelations in terms of the Leviathan breach as well, so very interested to see that. I always love seeing my boy Jonathan Kent take the center stage, even if I was one of the ones angry with his aging up, but that's a story for another time. Stick with DC then, we're moving on to, well, a bit more DC, Detective Comics 1034. So this is really the first Detective Comics to come out since Infinite Frontier. It's written by Joshua Williamson, who just seems to be writing everything for DC at the moment. it's just the start of a new era in Gotham City. There's growing anti-vigilante sentiment. Where have we ever seen that before in Gotham City? Batman is trying to negotiate his way through this world. There's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot of setup this issue, I will say. It's going to be a lot of setting up for future arcs. But it's a good place for you to jump in if you want to get into your Batman comics. So definitely be picking that up. So again, that's from DC. We've got Action Comics 1029 and Detective Comics 1034. Moving over to Marvel then, we've got issue 5 of Jed MacKay's amazing Taskmaster series. I cannot recommend the series enough. Taskmaster is an absolute delight. And this is the culmination of the Rubicon Trigger arc. Lots of stuff is going to be going down. I honestly recommend picking up the whole series because it's just absolutely wonderful. Taskmaster playing golf, it's amazing. And again, we've got the King in Black series at Marvel's carrying on. So the war against the Symbiote Kings, and we got Savage Avengers tying into that. So if you ever wanted to know what it would be like to see Conan the Barbarian in the Marvel Universe, read Savage Avengers, because that question is answered. That's right, Conan the Barbarian is in the Marvel Universe, for those of you not in the know. So yeah, this is just, it's basically a heist issue tying into the King in Black event. Again, it's got Conan there. What more do you need to pick that up? And we got a tie-in issue for Scream. So Scream is a bit of a lesser-known symbiote, I think. But she's very interesting. And again, it's just carrying on the King in Black story. It ties into it quite importantly. So I'd definitely be picking that up. And my last pick of the week is surprisingly from neither DC nor Marvel. It is from Boom Studios. There is a new Firefly comic starting, which I just found about earlier today. It's called Firefly: A New Verse. It's basically a continuation of the Firefly story, but we've got a new crew, essentially. So we got new cast, new faces. I believe that they will tie in some of the older members of the Firefly team in later issues, but this is basically like a brand new start for Firefly, and it's written by Josh Lee Gordon, and the art is done by, if I'm saying this name correctly, Fabiana Muscolo. The art looks fantastic. If you're a fan of Firefly, I think you definitely want to be picking this up. It looks like it's going to be something real special, and I'm excited to pick that up. So yeah, that's it for my pull list this week. Wonder if it did anything that tickle your fancy, Jake?
Yeah, I'm going to be definitely getting into Detective Comics back again. Just in general, I've always been collecting Detective Comics, like trying to get up to all 1,000 issues, which is a monument task. But hey, that's part of the thing, isn't it? And also, I'm actually one you didn't mention, which I want to pull for people, is that it's a brand new era for the Alien franchise. Since Disney acquired Fox, they've obviously acquired all the Predator and Alien franchises. So now Alien is coming into the Marvel Comics. So this week that's just happened, you'll be able to get Alien issue number 1. So that's a brand new story. So if you're a fan of obviously the Ridley Scott films and that world, be sure to check that out. That's exciting to see the Alien in the Marvel universe, and I think they're also going to be bringing in Predator at some point.
My God, what is happening? Yeah, no, that's it. I can't believe I forgot to mention Alien. Also, I should mention that Dr. Aphra, one of the Star Wars comics, has another issue out this week, and there's more Dirge. That's right, Dirge is now back in the mainline continuity. Who would have seen that coming? But there we go. So there we go.
And then I also wanted to pull for people obviously getting into the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Volume 1 of the comics series Falcon and the Winter Soldier has just come out from Marvel, so you'll be able to pick that up in a trade that has the first sort of few issues of that run. So it's a good place to start if you want to explore these characters, I think, as well.
Yeah, I'd also recommend Nick Spencer's run on Captain America Sam Wilson. It's just called, because there was also a Steve Rogers one at the time. But that was like a huge chunk of Sam's time as Captain America. So I think it's a good read on the character. Not the best run. I think Spencer does have some issues, but I think it's like a good enough run that you want to check it out. And hopefully it'll then get you into Secret Empire, and then everyone can join me in my web of defending Secret Empire.
Web of Secret Empire.
Because
this is an older pull as well, but I noticed that they're like different covers, variant covers are coming out this week. And that is Berserker #1, and this is the Keanu Reeves comic.
Yes.
This is also from Boom Studios, and I believe they're making it into a movie as well. That it was planned from the beginning to make it into a comic series initially, and then directly soon make it into a movie. But this is written by Keanu Reeves. I can't believe the dude's writing comics now. The guy can do no wrong, it seems. And yeah, it's pretty brutal, exciting stuff from Keanu Reeves. So yeah, people to check that out because it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and it's basically a trend now, because if you remember, I mentioned last week about Grant Morrison writing a comic for Boom Studios, which is supposed to be picked up for a TV show later on. So I'm wondering if that's maybe part of the same initiative, or whether it is just a separate thing entirely. But yeah, to see Keanu Reeves write a comic, that's way more exciting an announcement than when Marvel announced J.J. Abrams' son was writing a Spider-Man comic. But that I don't want to talk about that right now.
No. Yeah, I mean, and if you even look at the comic or just the front cover alone, you see this guy, and you're like, wow, Keanu Reeves is going to play this guy. I'm completely down for it.
Yeah, I'm already sold on it. I'm going to be picking that series up,
Awesome.
I think.
Awesome stuff. So that's the end of the pull list then, and that is the end of our show. Plenty of news, plenty of comics, lots of exciting stuff in the geeky world. So as always, we thank everyone for listening to the episode. Appreciate people coming on board every week, listening to us speculate, discuss, and geek out about everything. But before we get out of here, Tom, where can they find you and you can impart wisdom in them in your geeky comic knowledge?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter and also now Letterboxd at Gapperboi. So that's GAPPERBOI. The G and the B have a capital letter. So yeah, you can find me there, where I will be dispensing all of my comic book knowledge. And currently, I am undertaking a campaign to get Marvel to put Capwolf in Falcon and Winter Soldier. So if you follow me, you can join that campaign, and together we can see Capwolf in the MCU. You know you will want it. So just, find me and join the cause.
Great stuff. Yeah, same as well. You can find me on Twitter at SweatyJake, and I'm also on Letterboxd at Jake Hart. And you can also find the show on Twitter at Capes, Cows and Mass, and we're also on Facebook. Plenty of good content out there. We do have our review for the first episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier, as I said, and we've also got our big epic review of Zack Snyder's Justice League, where we had special guest Rob Ailey on that. So we had a lot of fun discussing that, so please check that out. And, whether you use Anchor, Spotify, or Apple, subscribe, follow, leave us a review if you're on Apple, as it all helps us go up in the rankings. And the best thing you can do is just recommend us to all your geeky and nerdy friends. So thanks for listening, everyone. We'll see you all next week. Stay safe, everyone. Goodbye.
Farewell.